Alright, TM 55285. War Department Technical Manual Operations Railroad General Instruction for Inspection and Maintenance of Rolling Stock. TM 55285, and we're on page 16. Chapter 3, Section 4, Damaged Sills. Alright, wooden sills. Rule number 16. Longitudinal sills will not be spliced between or over cross-paired. Longitudinal sills may be spliced at both ends. Intermediate or side sills may be spliced on either side of the body bolster. The nearest part of the splice will not be less than 12 inches from the edge of the body bolster. Intermediate sills spliced between the body bolster and the cross-pair will reinforce the indicated in Figure 7 and 8. Intermediate sills spliced between the bolster and end of the car side sills spliced on either side of the bolster will be reinforced indicated in Figure 6. C. When splicing a renewal of the longitude bolster across tie member, the nearest part of the splice will not be less than 24 inches from the edge of the body bolster. Center spill splices will be in accordance with Figure 7, and the diameter of horizontal vertical splice bolts will be 5/8 of an inch. 27. Steel center sill splices located at least 7 inches from the face of the bolster. Rule number 17. A. Adjacent sills may be spliced. B. All splices will be butt joint type. The reinforced both side plates not over 24 inches in length, not less than twice the length of the protruding. When projection is less than 12 inches, reinforcing plate will equal the thickness. And it shows Figure 6 shows the thickness of the Figure 6 shows the. Actually, I read that wrong. We'll start at when splicing renewal. Any longitudinal sill reinforcement will be applied existing with a diameter of 4 sills except the side sills. The intermediate sills between the body bolster and end of the car with the old splice with the 4-bolt splice will be reinforced in accordance with Figure 7. If the oldest splice, the 3-bolt splice reinforcement will be applied as indicated in Figure 9. Center sills will be sliced only between the body bolster and cross tie with the nearest part of the splice will not be less than 24 inches of the body bolster. Center slices will be in accordance with Figure 7. The diameter of horizontal vertical splice bolts will be 5/8 of an inch, and that's the wooden sills. 27. The center sill splice located at least 7 inches from the face of the bolster. Rule number 17. Adjacent sills may be sliced. All splices will be butt type with the reinforced both side plates with not over 24 inches in length, not less than twice the length of the protruding end. When projection is less than 12 inches, reinforcement plates will equal thickness of the web sill with the splice plate with the flange side with the sill will be U-shaped to include the flanges, while the plate on the opposite side will cover the web only. Rivets will be spliced as indicated and located in Figures 10. Figure 6 shows intermediate and side sill reinforcement splice indicated with the paragraph 226B. Shows to the body bolster. Intermediate sills front of the body bolster. Sills 12-inch minimum. Shows the four lug bolts at 33 inches, and then all bolts are 5/8 of an inch. Shows the butt type is the L type flange. Alright, Figure 7 intermediate seals reinforced splice indicating Figure page 26B. Shows a 6-foot span of the intermediate sill reinforced steel. Reinforced splice 26B, 2-inch of oak, 2.5-inch fine pine oak per. Show the bolts offset by 9 inches. And then it shows the all bolts 5/8 of an inch in diameter, 2.5 inches on the ends. From center 3 inches, then 12 inches, then 11 inches, then 10 inches by 10 inches, 11 inch, 12 inch, 3 inch, and then 16.5 inch from the this bolt. Shows the L lap joint, the butt. Figure 8 intermediate sills reinforced splice as between end 26B. This one shows as a back plating, 2-inch, 6-foot, 2 inches of oak, 2.5-inch pine or fir, and then 9-inch spaces in between the bolts. All bolts are 5/8 of an inch in diameter. 2, 3-inch, 12-inch, 11-inch, 10-inch, 10-inch, 11-inch, 12-inch, and it showed that the lap is no longer a flat lap; it's an angled lap, and that's 2 inches on these square bolts over here, and they're 3 inches from the side. And there's going to be 16.5 inch between the center of the lap and the ends butts. Alright, figure 9 shows the center intermediate 3-bolt splice reinforcement. Figure 9 center intermediate 3 bolts reinforcement. 3 inches, 2.5 inch oak, 2.5 inch pine or fir. 3 inch, 12 inch, 10.5, 9 inch, 10.5, 12 inch, 3 inch, and then 5 foot long. Shows the lap is an angled lap, no longer a flat lap, and then 2 inches by 2 inches. Alright, 28 steel center sill splices located between body bolster and sill less than 8 inches from the face of the bolster. All splices will be with the butt joint type of the addition of the cover plate splice. The plates will be as thick as the web of the sill, may be located on either side of the sill, extending 30 inches forward and behind center of the bolster. Space for rivets that are illustrated in figure 12 and 13. 29 center sill splice of the riveted type of the splice of the Rule 19 splice will be located between the body of the bolster at any point with the construction of the car will permit and where dimensions as a splice indicated in figure 14 can be fouled. If the sales cover plate with the fractured splice plate will be same thickness as the width of the cover of the plate now on the car, the length to allow for the application of 4 rivets in each sill on each side of the fracture. 2 rivets will be applied between the sills at each end of this plate. All rivets is covered in plate with the conforming existing type of the car. 30 center sill splices welded type. Figure 15 rule number 20 splice will be located at the point of the center of the sill. If the center sill covered plate is fractured splice, and it shows the end of the car and 114 inches by 9 inches, and shows the body bolster, and then the steel center sill splice front bolster 8 3/4 inch, and it shows a deck of cards 7. And those have a 9 inches, 14.5 inches on the section to A to A. Or you have the center of the car, and then you have 16.5 inch by 9.5 inches by 16.5 inches. And then steel center sill splice back bolster, 7/8 inch rivet, 8 3/4 inch, 16.5 inch center of the bolster, 10 inches. And it shows section BB 9/16 and 9 by 16.5. Our plate will be the same thickness width of the cover plate now on the car length of the permanent application of 4 rivets each sill will be each side of the fracture. 2 rivets will be applied between the sill to each end of the plate. All rivets will conform with the existing type of the car. 31 center sill splice steel sills made with the plates and angles. Rule number 21, when design is shown in figure 16, the splice will be located behind the bolster as near the bolster with the rivet spacing with the sill permanent application with the number of the rivets specified. 2 splices will be a butt joint type. 3, the adjacent center sill will may be spliced. 4, the splice plates will be thick as the web of the plate of the sill, but not less than 5/16 of an inch thick. They will not exceed 24 inches length unless the rivet spacing of the top of the bottom of the cord is sufficiently great enough to require longer plate application necessary number of the rivets. 5, if the center sill is covered with a broken splice, it will be the same thickness and width of the cover plate on the car and at the length, allowing application of 4 rivets on each sill on each side of the joint. With the 2 rivets will be applied between the sills at each end of this plate. All rivet through the cover over the plate will be existing type. B, when design is shown in figure 17, splices will be butt joint type. 2 splices of the type will be either the slope portion of the center sill when the depth of the sill of the fracture does not exceed 16 inches. Adjacent center sill will be spliced. Types 1, 2, and 3 splices illustrated with the application splice plates that will still having following with the members broken. Type 1 splice will be used when top angle web plate, one or both the bottom angles are broken. Flange plates or flanges will be same with thickness width of the angles now on the car, but will not be less than 3/8 of an inch thickness of each plate. Type 2 splices will be either the web plate with one or both and bottom angles are broken, the same as of the flange plate with the same specified with the type 1 splice. Alright, C, type 3 splice will be used only when the web plate is broken. Thickness of each of the splice plate will equal the web plate now on the car, but it will not be less than 3/8 of an inch thick, and in the center of the sill cover the plate is broken, the plate will be spliced in the same manner specified in figure 16. When design is shown in figure 18, the type of the splice will be used when the depth of the sill of the fracture joint exceeds 16 inches. 2 adjacent sills may be spliced. 3 flange angles and legs will conform in the thickness width over the similar dimensions of the angle of the car. Shows section CCD from the center of the car. Alright, figure 12 show the steel center splice outside less than 8 inches from the face of the body. Show the center sill, and then they show the center of the car and show the different rivets. And then shove it on the bottom of the center sill, in the middle, and then 30 inches to the side from the center. Then section D shows your rivets in the center bolster, and then the center sill, steel center sill outside less than 8 inches face for the body bolster. And then shows the center of the bolster, and then shows the end of each of the car, and then shows the steel center sill splice inside less than 8 inches from the face of the bolster. And it's given in section C show the inside, and then there's 7 1/8 of an inch rivets and 30 inches from the center of the bolster. Alright, joint to be welded. Weld many of the smooth of the flush with the surface of the sill. Splice may be located there with a minimum edge distance of 1/8 of an inch, and shove the 1/3/8 of an inch, and then it fouls 2 1/4 inches in between from rivet to rivet. And then it shove the middle rivets and the cross section on their pattern. 14 methods splicing Association American Railroad center sill. Center of the car. Diameter and hole. Joints of the C 12 inches, 18 inches. A and section A show the I-beam trace. And then they show the reinforcement center sill welded splice. Alright, figure 16 show the center sill splice for the back of the bolster, A joint, and then show the section AA, center of the bolster. Web slices will be thick as web in the car with the thickness. Each plate will not be less than 3/8 of an inch. Rivet spacing of the welded splice plates will not exceed 4 inches nor less than 2 3/4 of an inch if the center sill cover plate is broken. Also, this place will be spliced in the same manner as specified in figure 16. 32, the Z-bar center sill splice, rule number 22, welded type splice will be located between the body bolster at any point where the construction of the car will permit. Dimension of the splice indicated with the figure 19 can be fouled. 2 top splice plates of a 3/8 of an inch thickness will have the dimension of the indicating figure 19. 3, a welding will be performed in accordance with figure 19. Rivet type splices will be located between body bolster and the type point of the construction of the car will permit. The dimension of the splice as indicated in figure 20 can be fouled. 2 top splice plates of 3/8 of an inch thickness will be sufficient length with a permanent application of 5 rivets on each side of the fracture. 3 outside inside splices will be at least 5/16 of an inch thick. Rivets will be spaced as shown. Bottom splice plate with a 1.5 inch thickness will be length with a permanent application 4 rivets on each side of the fracture, and 5 all rivets will have 7 1/8 of an inch diameter. Then show the center sill splice with the depth of the sill at the fracture not more than 16 inches. So the section A, the cross section rivets cover plate would be the same as the dome of the car, and then show the A joint and your 7 1/8 of an inch diameter rivets. Okay, then you have your A joint and then 7 1/8 of an inch diameter rivets. Type 1, Type 2. Sections AA and Type 3. Alright, 33, side sill splices, rule number 23. Riveted type is shown in figure 21. All splices will be butt joint type of the reinforced both sides with the plates of 14 inch length with a thickness equal to that of the web of the sill. Splice plate with the flange side of the sill will cover the web, while the plate on the opposite side of the flange over the bottom leg of the side sill riveted is indicated in figure 21. The splice may be located on either side of the body bolster. 4, the rivets will be spliced as shown. Well, the type is shown in figure 22. Splices may be located on either side of the body bolster. C, rivet type is shown in figure 23. Splices may be located at any point between the end of the sills. Well, the type is shown in figure 24. Splices may be located at any point between the end sills. And 2, the splice plate will may be located on the side of the web opposite of that shown. Alright, shows the Z-bar center sill welded type, section AA, a seal weld, center of the car, splice plate, section BB, section AA. Then you have 28.5 inches, and they show the rivet patterns. And then shows your Z-bar Center sill splice rivet type pattern. Section AA, 16 inch, 310, 310. Section B, 1 inch diameter holes. Shows the side sill web slice described in paragraph 33B with the section BB. Alright, section, all rivets 3/4 inch in diameter. And this is 1 1/2 inch and then 1 1/2 minimum, 1 1/4 minimum. Shows the 5 card center inside pattern with finish of the section A. And then it shows section AA, 14 inches, and then it shows 10 inches by 10 inches. The centers, the side sill web slice is paragraph 33D. Shows the section, and then the spill diameter holes 4 across the middle. Section 5, couplers.